Hello, it's Scott Manley here with the Christmas present report. You see, being a nerd, I get a few Christmas presents that are kind of nerdy and cool that I like to share with people. Actually, to be fair, not all of these presents are for me, but some of them were from me. Such as this TARDIS plushie, which when you push the button, makes the dematerializing sound. There's a little video, you could check it out as it actually works. Awesome stuff, nonetheless. Another one was this interesting little nightlight that I got for Orion, or rather Amy got for Orion. It was at a kind of Victorian themed street fair, so they had fairies and stuff etched in wood. There's a nice little design here that's all cut out of wood. Very nicely done, but this one is that most Victorian of artifacts, the TARDIS, also. Awesome stuff. Probably not official merchandise, but it's so darn beautiful, I couldn't resist. I get sent a couple of things by people I've worked with all year. Obviously, the Kerbal Space Program people sent me some very nice thing. Well, sent me this little gizmo. It's a foam space shuttle, which glides terribly, but it's a lot of nice little thing to have, and I'll probably try and recreate it in the game or something like that. I think the centre of mass is not quite right on this. Similarly, the B612 people actually said thank you very much by sending me this don't be like the dinosaurs with a T-Rex not seeing the asteroid there. Personally, I think the problem was that T-Rex, his little stubby arms, were unable to reach the focuser, so the telescope would always be out of focus and you couldn't see anything. Finally, for serious things, I have this. Now this is an authentic, working pewter astrolabe. Now, this is a genuinely cool gizmo. There's a group in Berkeley, and apparently they make the only functioning astrolabes right now. You see, the original concept for the astrolabe goes back about 2,000 years. The Greeks were using them. A lot of people say the Arabs did them first, but no, the Greeks predated them. Now, this is essentially a 2,000-year-old slide rule, which is used for determining things like the time of day relative to midday or midnight or whatever by sighting stars, sighting the sun, and various other things. Now, a simple example of how it would be used is if you go on the back, first of all, you figure out what date you want to pick it for, what date you're on. So I'm going to pick a date which is December 30th, right? Which is more or less there. See that? December 30th. That tells me that it is just getting into the house of Capricorn, which, okay, this isn't actually about astrology, but it is used by astrologers. So I flip it around to the front here, and this is where it gets very hard, right? I have to find the start of Capricorn, and if you see, it's just there, right? That little nub there is the solstice. So if I skip forward just a little, that's where the sun is right now on the ecliptic. During the year, the sun moves around this ecliptic. The stars are represented by these little points here. It's really hard to see, but these tiny points represent the locations of the stars. They don't move, but obviously the sun moves. And you can actually read some of these. For example, this is Betelgeuse here, right? That little point, that is Betelgeuse right there, and that's marked out in the sky. And obviously, similarly, that's Rigel. So you can see those are the two corners of the constellation of Orion. And during the day, they move through the sky. So during the daylight hours, they're below the sky, and then at night, in the winter, they're up on the sky, and that shows you where they are. Now, let's continue. We've got this position on Capricorn. So say this is very hard for me to do. Say I want to know what time the sun sets, right? I've got to look at the lens, not at the screen. Very complicated. Say I want to know what time the sun sets. So what I have to do is take this point and align it until it is on this curve. There's a curve here which goes like this. See this? You can probably just see this curve here. It runs around and it runs up. That is the 0 degrees line. So I want to know when the sun is going to be on this 0 degrees line. So I take this point and I move it until it is on the 0 degree line, and it's about there. I'm just going to guesstimate, right? Now, here's the hard part. You take this and you line it up. Hold on. This is very hard because I'm actually looking at a camera. I'm trying to do this. I line these points up, and now my position along the edge tells me the time. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Yeah, that was actually right, yeah. So my position on the edge tells me when sunset will be. So we start, here we go, we start with A is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It's going to be about 4:40 is when sunset is today. Similarly, if you sight the sun, you can use this tool here to sight the sun in the sky and figure out the elevation it is. You can use any elevation that you have to map it to one of these other curves. These other curves, you see there's a lot of different curves. These are all for different elevations. So you sight the star or the sun against these and then use the indicator to map where it is on it, and that tells you its position relative to the absolute. And from that, you can figure out the local time of day. Now, if you then know the local time of day and you know if you have a watch, right, which you have been running since you left, say, Greenwich, then you can actually figure out your longitude as well, which is another cool thing. And also, for any given day of the year, you can figure out when the sun rises and sets. You can figure out when a star should rise or set. There's just tons of things you could do with this. There's even like a tool here for surveying, so you can figure out how big something is based upon the elevation measured on this and the distance measured. So this was essentially a tool which did everything. It was one of the first slide rules and the only functioning ones, as far as I know, according to the guy, I think it's Norman Green, might be his name. They're in Berkeley and they make the only functioning ones. And the reason is they stopped using these probably a couple of hundred years ago, right? Because better tools got developed. And during that time, the pole of the Earth has continued to precess around. So we've slowly migrated through the positions on through the zodiac, right? Because the important part for the year is the equinoxes, right? So the spring and the autumn equinoxes are defined when the sun crosses through the plane of the ecliptic. And that has been moving slowly as the pole of the Earth precesses through its 23,000-year cycle. So these had to be updated to actually make it work in the modern time. The stars kind of move, but I don't think the proper motion is so significant that you would notice on it. Although, over thousands of years, these stars will have to move. But yeah, apparently the guy did... his thesis work was basically updating the Astrolabe so it would work with modern skies. And you can buy these from their website. They have a 3-inch version, a 4-inch version. They have a really fancy gold and silver looking one. But this is in pewter and I absolutely adore it. It is a work of art and I love it. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.